And here is the car that we're after. 1966 Pontiac Tempest. There's two reasons I was really interested in this car. One, it's a four-door, and four-doors wagons are really hot, and I've always liked them my whole life, to be honest. But the biggest reason is what's under this hood, and it's probably not what you're thinking. There it is. The OHC Straight 6, or overhead cam engine. This thing is really neat. Goal today is get this thing running, and I've got to drive this thing 300 miles back to the shop where we can continue working on it. I think the first step is we just got to push this thing out of this garage. It's really tight in here, and we can get a better look at what we got going on. Yeah, not so much rolling. What a cool looking car, huh? Looks like the shed's got some termites, maybe. Pontiac made the Tempest from 60 to 1970 and again from 87 to 91, but we'll pretend those newer years don't exist. You're welcome. This one here is obviously a four-door post, but in 66 you could get one without the post, so it'd be a hard top. It's like a late 80s, early 90s restoration here, and that's where this is going to get interesting. We were told this has been off the road for 30 years, so could get a little spicy. Actually, exceptionally clean, with the exception of a lifter, and actually this is a really good time to explain how this engine works. Traditional pushrod engines have the cam somewhere in the block, right? And then you have push rods and lifters and rocker arms that run the valve train. Well, in this unit, the cam is on top of the engine, and the lobes basically operate off of this, and this is what's opening and closing the valve train. So this is a little bit concerning that there's just random valve train parts back here. Either it's missing or maybe it's been replaced. I don't know. Let's jump on the inside and see what we got going on in here. Oh, it smells like a potato sack full of used knee braces. It's not good. It's not good, but headliner is about perfect. About 14 different flavors of mold growing in here. 15, very reminiscent of the GTO right here. Air conditioning, I'll be dipped. Doubtful very that works. AM and the FM, frequency modulation. Oh, it's one of those bottom exit units. I mean, it's a pretty solid car. Oh, we got boom booms in the back. You know, the Warren G's, got some speakers. Shift linkage is there. Blinker stick seems to be doing stick things. Sure, good enough to get home. Let's take a closer look under the power barn here. Come up with a plan, maybe. Nope, just gonna wing it, but. Yeah, this thing is really neat. And at first glance, I mean, everything seems to be here. Definitely has had a Craigslist rebuild done, you know, brand new. Lost the receipts. This might not be too bad. Fingers crossed. The one huge hiccup we could have here is a fiberglass reinforced timing belt that runs this whole contraption. So if that thing isn't, you know, doing the thing, the engine doesn't run. And that is a mess doing that job. So I got a ratchet down here on the crank. I'm gonna hold that with one hand so it doesn't interfere with the ratchet. Try to roll this thing over 360 degrees. I'll get my ear meter out, extended about 3 millimeter. And then we're gonna listen, make sure we hear the valve train turning and everything like that. Then we know the belt's in good condition and the engine's not stuck. Oh yeah, it's turning. It doesn't feel that bad. Usually you can feel like ring ridges, things like that. I think we're in good shape there. That is fantastic news. Let's move on to the ignition system. I don't know, start probing things, make lights come on and off on the tools. And then once we get sparkles to the engine, we'll figure out a fuel system at that point. I got a very specific battery for this rig because it's got a go handle, you know. Slide this in. All right, so now we'll go ahead and throw the ignition sticks in. Park check. key on, and then we'll go ahead and move towards seeing if we got spark at the old sparkulators. So here's my little blinky test light thingy. All right, we're gonna crank her over, see if we got any spark. Oh, that sounded terrible. I'm already about 114.2% positive. The points, you know, they're not, the contacts aren't pointing. Did a little bit of rooting around in there, you know, and this one, I don't know. It doesn't, that's not right. So there's a chance the guy's thinking this was grounding out on the case of the distributor there. Got a new contact set here. We'll pop this in and it should get us going. Okay, light bulb should do light bulb things. And it is. We've got the spark. We got sparks now. So we got to move on to fuel. Now I'm going to run a temporary fuel supply into an NHRA approved fuel container. Nope, definitely just a snowmobile tank. And now we can see if the needle and seat work. Probably not. And then hopefully this thing just fires off. Yep. Yeah. Wow, this stubborn little mule. What do you think Randy Travis is doing? I don't know. This guy, he can go up here. So now, there we go. I can hear it filling the bowl, and that should change tone if the needle's gonna hold. I need my carburetor adjuster. There it is. Theoretically, if I crank on this, it should hopefully make some noise. Bring the thunder. It kind of did the thing. Come on. Starter sounds like a dying dolphin. Running. Come on, girl. It's alive. Kind of. Doesn't sound very good. I think I'm gonna kill it. We'll start working through this thing. Well, I think what the guy's gonna do here is pull out all the sparkulators. Oh yeah, that's richer than Oprah. Nozzle change on the lightning hoses. Them are older than all three of my kids combined. And then we'll just start working through a tune-up. Welcome to Derek's non-fictional storytelling time. Did you know Pontiac developed 8 straight 6 engines between 1926 and 1969? This was the only overhead cam straight 6 that they made. Pretty neat. Yeah. Lightning Storm is brand new. We're probably gonna have to dig into that fuel make it happener and rebuild on it. There we go. Oh yeah, she's pretty dirty. We'll spray out the exteriors first, right into the oil drain pan, and then we'll go ahead and pop it apart and see what we can do with the thing. Old Rochester. Whoppin'. No, it's more like, but you know. Now, guy's just gonna start spraying everything down and say smart words and then put it back together in the reverse order. Okay, we got this thing all rebuilt, and hopefully with new sparkulators, lightning hoses, other doodads over there, and this rebuilt, it runs like 17% better. Clicky clacky. Let's see what we got. But idles now, just still, you know, poorly. All right. So I was looking down there and I could see the vacuum advanced diaphragm putting timing into it, basically. Take that away and, well, it runs a lot more gooder, sure. Yeah, that's fine. it'll come around. I mean, 30 years is a long time for a vehicle to sit, right? So we got to let the rings come back around and do all sorts of stuff. It's time to put some water in this thing, see if the radiator even holds water. Thermostat might be stuck, I don't know. The biggest thing is I'm gonna move because I can't breathe any longer. So I got some basically fuel injector, carburetor, solvent cleaner stuff here. Hopefully bring those sticky rings back around, and whatever is wrong with the number 3 cylinder, it'll completely rebuild that. Oh, runs like a Swiss watch, and I ain't kidding you. Well, that's a pretty good sign. We just abused on it pretty good, didn't get hot. Unfortunately, it is smoking a little bit. My belly button tells me it's that number 3 cylinder, but you know, a long drive home at sustained RPM is probably just what this thing needs. It's got to stretch its legs out a little bit. I think while we got it running here, might as well jump in, grab on the shift machine, and see if it, you know, shifts. Neutral, of course that's gonna work. Drive. Oh yeah. Reverse. Oh yeah. All right. Ooh. Pretty sure I just blew yeah, I just popped a brake line. That's fantastic. Well, we have a transmission and no brakes. Perfect. That is just perfect. Yep. So, it's bleeding the brakes. We're getting fluid to the rear just fine. The master cylinder is doing its thing. Unfortunately, we've got no fluid at the front at either side here. That's supposed to be open in the center to let fluid travel through. Not even close. So I think I determined why the drinker side front isn't braking. The C-clamp over here, you know, I don't think that's supposed to be there traditionally, but I'm not mad. I get to take home a new C-clamp. Well, we're losing light, so I think we're gonna call it for today, but listen, I know it looks like a mess, but we had an awesome first day. After 30 years, we got the Pontiac fired back up. Sounded pretty good. The transmission works. It seems to be staying cool. We're just fighting these brakes right now, but we're down to 1 wheel. We'll see you guys bright and early. Tomorrow, the goal is to put this thing on the highway. So we got all the brakes bled here. None of them are blowing out right now, and we don't have any leaks. That's the main thing. I'm gonna move on to the fuel system here. We're gonna need the capacitize if we're gonna go 300 miles. I think it would be a lot of fuel stops at 2 gallons. I'm gonna put a fuel filter in line before the pump, try to save on that. Hopefully that one even works. And then put another fuel filter over here right before the carb. And then we can kind of monitor what kind of debris and rust and who knows what we're gonna pull out of that tank. So a guy wants to put a water temperature gauge in here. Weird, I know, right? We wanna make sure this thing stays cool not only on the way home, but I have some pretty radical ideas to hop this thing up when we get it back to the shop. And having a temperature gauge is very, very important for that process. What I'm gonna do here is actually remove the thermostat housing, or the water neck here, drill and tap that. Well, you can see there's a huge advantage to buying vehicles from other fellers that do hot rod stuff. Well, there's the fitting, so I could stick my temperature probe right in that guy. This is just gonna get mounted up in the cab there, and of course, and then we'll be able to monitor the temperature. Deedle, deedle, deedle. Here we go. Well, we got our new tires and wheels here. Biggest difference is we're going from a 205 on a 14 to a 225 60/15 all the way around. And, oh yeah, white letters out. Yep. Kind of gives it that muscle car feel. Outlaws! I think this will give it a nice attitude. It's finally that time. The Tempest is ready to hit the road. Redid the ignition system, tuned her up a little bit, adjusted the timing, rebuilt the fuel, make it happen around here. Yep. Brakes and brakes. I gotta go this way, I can't remember. And brakes. Tires and wheels, just enough cleaning to see where we're going. Let's throw this thing on the road, see what it does. First few miles is gonna tell us a lot. Ooh, tire rubbage. Bad. That's all right, just gotta turn wide. Power steering works great. Biggest thing is gonna be keeping an eye on this temperature gauge, and also this fuel gauge, if it happens to work, would be absolutely amazing. Otherwise, we'll have to do the calculations, and I'm not good with the mathemagitionals. For some reason, the sawdust is staying on the hood. How is that happening? Ain't got no ACs. Wait, that is literally blowing right now. Oil pressure, 39 pounds of that. Give or take 39. Well, speedometer says 60. I don't know how accurate that is. I'm gonna cruise at this speed for a while. Doesn't feel like I'm really pushing it. We're at 190.7 degrees on the temperatures. And if we do good, doesn't get hot, maybe we'll pick up the pace just a little bit.